show. So for WWE, that's 6 months of programming just for those individuals that are not in the title picture for the singles title, obviously, on their respective brands. That's probably not an original idea, but I think it needs to be done because what do you do with all this talent that's not going to get shown on television? Nothing good. Not with WWE. So I pretty much, like probably a lot of you, called the ending to the Zayn Owens or the Zayn AJ Styles match before it even started. I literally wrote that there would be some shenanigans. Zayn wins and it becomes a triple threat at Rumble for the title. Well, it didn't become a triple threat, and I believe somebody on Aaron Riff's No DQ Live after SmackDown mentioned it would mirror the fact that Raw has a triple threat title match at Rumble, and so do something different, and 2-on-1 handicap is essentially a triple threat. If you really boil it down, whoever gets the pin, the only difference is they're not allowed to pin each other. They can only pin AJ Styles. So it leaves room for AJ to successfully defend. But in order for that to happen, there has to be a rift between Owens and Zayn. And I feel like it's way too early for that. Like, these two have been at each other's throats since coming up from NXT because they ended in NXT at each other's throats. So now that they're finally friends again and they're both heels, and I believe it's working, I like it. I don't think it's as good as Owens and Jericho, but I like it. I like their dynamic. I was not correct necessarily, but I pretty much called it. It's just a matter of semantics, triple threat, 2-on-1, whatever. I was a little disappointed in the fact that Zayn came out to his old or his current music after all of these weeks where he's been coming out with Kevin Owens to Kevin Owens music, and you kind of forgot that his music was this upbeat stuff that doesn't go with his new character at all. Why didn't they finally debut some new music for Sami Zayn? Maybe something that now goes with his heel character but could also transition back into a face character. Use the same singable line but do it slower, do it in a lower register, do it some way where the crowd doesn't chant with it anymore but keeps it in your mind so that when you turn him face again, they can sing with it again. Just an idea. I just think it's really... I think WWE sets themselves up perfectly for things that they don't follow through with, like this. This is when you give Sami Zayn new music that makes sense with his character. I had a few final thoughts. I feel like Daniel Bryan is legitimately turning heel, and whatever doubt there might have been before tonight, this is it, because he might explain next week to Shane that the reason he did it is because he thinks that Zayn and Owens are going to turn on each other in the match, and it's actually going to end up being a positive for AJ Styles. But that doesn't wash. It doesn't wash. I think we're going to find out at Royal Rumble that there's something deeper seated in Daniel Bryan that even goes beyond Shane McMahon's treatment of Owens and Zayn. Or maybe that's exactly it, only it's much deeper, that he resents the fact that Shane McMahon would bring him in and put him in charge of a show and then turn into his sister and turn into the authority on two people and just go off the deep end with it. I can see Daniel Bryan doing that. He's been that character before. I also think that despite the fact that he won, what, last year? Maybe the year before. Anyway, despite the fact that he won recently, I think that Randy Orton should win the Royal Rumble. And that's probably not a very popular opinion. I think most people want Shinsuke Nakamura to win the Royal Rumble because everybody knows that Raw has got the Elimination Chamber coming up, and it makes more sense for Raw to put 6 people in the Elimination Chamber to vie for the number 1 contendership for Brock Lesnar and the Universal Championship at WrestleMania, because Brock Lesnar is probably not going to work for Elimination Chamber. He won't be there. You won't have a championship match. So your next best is a number 1 contendership match inside Elimination Chamber. So we're pretty much guaranteed SmackDown's going to win the Royal Rumble. Guaranteed being used as a loose term. Because there's never say never, and there's never a guarantee, but this is almost as good as you're going to get. I think it should be Randy Orton. Because, yes, Shinsuke Nakamura would probably have a great match with AJ Styles, but unless they put it as the main event and give them the opportunity to wrestle like it's the main event of the show of the year and put on the best match of the decade, then it's a waste. Because they could do Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles at a smaller pay-per-view, or even save it for an almost as big pay-per-view like SummerSlam. They could do it at another pay-per-view, and it means so much more because it actually is the main event, and they actually can put on the match that will steal the year, not just the show. Randy Orton, however, is a big enough name to really put the shine on that draw, if that makes sense. Like, not only would he still have a great match with AJ Styles, in fact, I think they would have a classic, but his name value puts a lot more shine on the draw of that match than Shinsuke Nakamura does at this point, because he hasn't established himself to the main fans in WWE that don't really watch NXT or the Indies or really know who he is outside of what he's been portrayed since joining SmackDown. And he's just not there yet as his character only on SmackDown. He's not the kind of draw that Randy Orton is. I think Randy Orton should win. I think the Philadelphia crowd would be okay with that. If Cena wins, they might riot. If Reigns wins, they might riot. If Randy Orton wins, you might not get cheers. You might literally hear an entire stadium full of, not stadium, but an entire arena full of people go, eh, at the same time. But I think they'd be okay with it. I think everybody'd be okay with Randy Orton winning. He's believable, and he's not invincible. So that's my thoughts. Again, I don't know why they buried Aiden English on SmackDown this week. I really hope that they make up for that. If their plan is not to turn Rusev heel against Aiden, I hope that they turn around and give Aiden a match next week where he beats Big E clean. Not Kofi, not Woods, but the big guy, Big E. If they give him a match with Big E next week and he beats him clean, then I will consider all as well between me and WWE over their burial of Aiden English this week. And I believe that is all I have for Raw and SmackDown and everything else under the sun that I have covered. If you agree with me, that's great. If you want to talk about it,